So good morning all of you. So as continuation with that previous video, we go further. So in previous video we discussed about that some modification in straight line method or the decline balance method approach we introduced in that straight line method, and that approach we discussed in last video with this numerical, through this numerical. So in this numerical, that straight line depreciation amount that will be calculated by straight line method, which is a constant for each year, that will be modified by considering updated book value for that particular year. Considering updated book value for that particular year. Now, sometime that depreciation amount we calculated according to the number of products that we produced, according to by our consideration of number of products that we produced within a particular period of time. Suppose 10,000 products produced by a particular machine. By producing 10,000 products or 10,000 components by using a particular machine, that machine have certain wear out. And we have to invest some amount. For correct that or for compensation of that wear. Or we provide some remedies to come out through this wear out condition. Of that particular machine. So after 10,000 products, after 10,000 components or products, that machine has particular wear out, and we have to apply some remedies to remove that wear out, or by that wear out nothing but a tool wear out, like that. And such provision we apply some depreciation amount. Instead of calculating that depreciation amount for per year, sometimes that depreciation amount is calculated per unit of that or per unit of production. So number of components or products, how much we should provide depreciation for that particular property or asset. How much depreciation we provide for that particular property or asset for number of product production or number of component production. So suppose that production of that component is a n number. Suppose 10,000 products or components we produced. So this n now becomes as a 10,000. This n becomes as a 10,000. And now this formula is very similar to your previous straight line balance method formula. Here cost basis value minus salvage value divided by number of year. So instead of number of year, here we changing that n is replaced by product. N is replaced by number of products. So n is the number of products. Production. N is the production amount. N is the production amount. So with this formula, changing formula, this approach is called as a units of production method. So in this approach, that number of years are replaced by number of products that are produced within a particular period of time. For that we can provide some depreciation. So this method is called as this approach is called as units of production method. So we go through one numerical of this. It is very simple. It is very similar to straight line balance method formula, but only change is that instead of calculating depreciation value per year, we calculating the depreciation amount or value or per number of products or per products lot. per product lot. So within particular slot, suppose 10,000 products are produced. So for that particular slot, we provide some depreciation value. So this example is given here. A lathe used in a shop. In a shop has a cost basis of rupees 5 lakh and is expected to have a rupees 25,000 salvage value when replaced after producing 30,000 units of a product. So find its depreciation rate per unit of the product and find its book value after production of 10,000 units of the products. So here they ask to find out depreciation rate per unit of that product. Depreciation rate per unit of that product and find its base value, find its book value after production of 10,000 units of that particular product. 10,000 units of that particular. So book value formula, we know that book value formula is a cost basis value minus depreciation value. Cost basis value minus depreciation value for that particular period of time. Book value for that particular period of time. Now instead of period of time, they find out that book value or depreciation value in terms of the unit of that product, in terms of the per unit of the product. So cost basis value B here 5 lakh. Salvage value is given as a 25,000. Salvage value is given as 25,000. N is the, now here instead of year it is a given as a 30,000 units. 30,000 units. Now depreciation we can calculate as a depreciation value is equal to cost basis value minus salvage value. Cost basis value minus salvage value divided by, instead of number of year, number of products or number of units that we produced, 30,000. So this amount is a depreciation value by considering these 30,000 units. So by this depreciation value is a 15 rupees 83 paisa that we should add in the cost of that particular unit, cost of that particular component. Suppose that cost of that particular component 10 rupees. So instead of sell that particular component with 10 rupees, we should add this 15.83 rupees into that 10 rupees. Now the total cost of that particular product now becomes as a 25 rupees 83 paisa. So this is the depreciation value by consideration number of products and number of units. So instead of year we replace by number of products. Now book value. Now book value is nothing but cost basis value. Cost basis value is 50,000, 5 lakh minus depreciation value for that particular year. Now instead of particular year, they ask in terms of the number of products. The book value for when after production of the 10,000 units. Book value after production of 10,000 units. So this depreciation value for each unit is a 15 rupees per 83 paisa. 15 rupees and 83 paisa into number of products now 10,000. So into 10,000. So this is depreciation value for the 10,000 products. This depreciation value is a 10,000 product. So cost basis value minus depreciation value for the particular 10,000 products is equal to book value when that production reaches to the 10,000 units. When production reaches to the 10,000 units. So this is the example based on the unit of production method. So in this unit of production method, we replace this year or period of time in terms of the production units. So these are the some methods. So these are the methods we discussed as a straight line method or decline balance method. Simple again one approach we also go to that one approach, sum of year digit method, ratio widening method, and so some approaches also decline balance method switch over to straight line method. So some straight line method is modified according to decline balance method approach, and another one is the unit of production method. So these are the depreciation methods. These are the depreciation methods we consider. Now another approach. Now another approach here. That another approach is a modified accelerated cost recovery system. Modified accelerated cost recovery system. So in this approach, so it is a modified accelerated cost recovery system. So in this approach, this is a short form is a MACRS. This modified accelerated cost recovery system. It, that approach short form is a MACRS system. MACRS system. So this is used to calculate depreciation for the most tangible depreciable property placed in service for last 2 decades. This is applicable for the properties which are in service for the last 2 decades. So this is a modified accelerated cost recovery system. So in this modified accelerated cost recovery system, there are two types. Or two systems. There are two types of two systems we consider, and that are nothing but a GDS and ADS. That are nothing but a GDS and ADS. So GDS nothing but a general depreciation system. GDS is nothing but a general depreciation system, and ADS is nothing but a alternative depreciation system. ADS is nothing but a alternative depreciation system. So these are the two systems that we consider in the modified accelerated cost recovery system. So this ADS generally provided for the longer recovery periods. ADS are generally provided for longer recovery period, and for calculation of depreciation value in this ADS approach or ADS system, we generally use the straight line method of depreciation. So some properties having some tax exemption, these are covered under this ADS system. Properties having tax exemption that are covered under this ADS system. So in general, so there are two approaches: general depreciation system and this ADS system, alternative depreciation system. So for using this modified accelerated cost recovery system, we can calculate depreciation value, and we required some data. That are the nothing but the cost basis value, date of property, was placed in service, and the property class, recovery period. So such data we require for using this modified accelerated cost recovery systems. So we divide properties. So under this system, some tangible depreciable properties are classified into asset classes. And each asset class is assigned a class like GDS recovery period and ADS recovery period. Now, there are different properties that are again classified into a particular class, or that are grouped into a particular class, and for each class there are some life is also given. For each class some useful life is also given for both approaches, ADS approach and for GDS approach. So first, property are classified into some groups. For that particular group, a useful life is also assigned for both approaches, ADS approach and GDS approaches. And then these are we represented here. So these are we can find out in this table. So in this table, different type of properties. So furnitures, fixtures, equipments. So that particular properties or assets are categorized into one group. And this group given class number as a, for this class that number is a 0.11, and for this type of the property group, that ADS life is a 10 year and GDS life is a 7 year, like that. So if you look at this, information systems, computers and peripherals that are put into one group and give number class number as a internal revenue service number as a 0.12. Again, ADS class life defined useful life is defined as 6 year. For the GDS class system, it is defined as a 5 year. So automobiles are grouped into one class. Automobile grouped into one class, giving number of that class 0.22, A days life 2 year, G days life 5 years. Like that. For different number of properties are categorized into a one class. So railroad cars, industrial steam and electrical distributions, cotton grain assets, cattle breeding and dairy or agricultural products that are come under this class, having number 1.21, and having G days life, A days life 7 year, G days life 5 year, like that. So we classified them into these groups. We assign a number for each class. We also assign some useful year or useful life of that for this particular class in ADS system and in GD system. So these are the two methods, ADS system and GD system, in this modified accelerated cost recovery system, and we categorize these properties into some class, assign some number for that particular class, assign useful life in the ADS system and the GD system. Now these are some description. For GDS class having year, useful year 3 year, 5 year, 7 year and 10 years. For such property class having GDS life of 3 year, 5 year, 7 year and 10 year. For such property classes, we use 200% decline balance method. For classes or for class life, for GDS class life 15 and 20 years, we use 150% decline balance method. For GDS of non-residential, real and residential rental property classes, we use straight line method. For AD system, we use straight line method as we discussed earlier. Now half year method, if the asset is disposed before it's a full recovery period. Yeah, suppose this is a recovery period of 7. This is the recovery period of 7. Before 7 years, suppose this property is a disposed before that particular year. In that case, that all asset placed in that service during that year are treated as if they are used begin in the middle of that year. In that case, we consider that particular asset or property that are used in the middle of that particular year. So only 0.5 year is considered. For that condition. If that asset is disposed before that recovery period. So some tables are also given. For in this case, GDS recovery rates for 6 personal property classes, or particular 6 personal property classes are listed in this table 2, and the GDS personal property rates in this table 2 include that half year convention as well as switch over from decline balance method to the straight line method. So this table gives a 6 personal property classes. So 3 year property, 5 year property, 7, 10 year property, 15 year property and 20 year property. For these property classes, these are number of years, and for each year how much percentage we can use recovery rate, we can use for this class, 3 year property class. For first year, how much recovery rate? For second year, how much recovery rate? For third year, how much recovery? For fourth year, how much recovery? Suppose 7th year property classes. For first year, this is the recovery. For second year, this is the recovery. For third year, this is the recovery. Like that. So this is the table for that particular classes. Here, just consider 6 classes having 3 year, 5 year, 7 year, 10 year, 15 year, 20 year. And for each year, for each class and for each year, they provide some recovery rate value. And we consider this recovery rate for simply our calculation of depreciation amount for calculating depreciation amount. Now, this third table, these are the property class and primary methods. These are the property class and primary methods for calculating depreciation deduction. These are used calculating. These are used for the this calculating depreciation for particular property class and particular which primary method we use for that depreciation calculation. These are tabulated here. These are tabulated here. So GDS property class life having 3 year and 200% decline balance method switcher to straight line method. So 4 year or less. So depreciation method. So for 4 year and less, that particular class for GDC approach for 4 year or less 200% decline balance method with switch over to straight line method. This approach we used for this useful life period. For this useful life period, more than 4 years to the less than 10 years, we use this 200% decline balance method with the switch over to the straight line method. So for each useful life period of particular class, we use these type of the depreciation methods. We use these types of the depreciation methods. 200% decline balance method, we switch over to the straight line method. 200%, 150% decline balance method with the switch over to SL method. Like that, straight line method for this such cases. For 25 year more, which having class for class property class having year useful life year more than 25 year, we simply using straight line method depreciation calculation. So these are the some modified accelerated cost recovery system. These are come under the modified accelerated cost recovery system. So we go through some numericals based on this modified accelerated cost recovery system, and in that solving that numerical we use these tables.